This is Richard Goatman Gautier with Team Naxja at Petty Cash Racing, racing the 4643 Jeep Cherokee and Ultra 4, and you're listening to the XJ Talk Show.
xjtalk.com. It's where you go when you're not off-road.
We here at the XJ Talk Show really appreciate you listening to our podcast. If you enjoy the show, please consider sharing it with a friend. It's so easy. Just tell them to go to xjtalkshow.com.
We welcome and look forward to your questions and comments. Dial 530-675-4102 and leave your message on our 24/7 voicemail.
You're listening to the XJ Talk Show. We'll get the show started here in the next 10 minutes. So if you're listening, just hang in there and, we'll get it a little more interesting than playing some music for you. Well, we can try it now and see if it's working.
No, I think we're okay. I just had a loose connection or something like that.
So are you hearing the echo on your side?
No, I'm not. You got an echo?
Oh, big time. Like I've never heard before.
Okay, here, I'll call back. Call right back.
Are you listening?
Okay, now, how about now? Any echo coming through?
No, you didn't have the YouTube up, did you?
No, I had another window open.
Oh, okay.
And had an ad that apparently started to play.
So what I'd like to do on the Amazon You Bought What is we'll pick out the items that we want to go over, and we can just remove them from the list or highlight them in some way, and then I'll copy those over to the next show notes.
Okay.
Like, not the next show, but the show after that.
Right. Man, there's a lot of good stuff on here, though.
Yeah, remember we were off for a month.
True.
I mean,
do you want to just pick a number, like 4 items apiece, or?
Let's go for. I think what I had said before was 5.
Okay.
So let's just stick with 5, and you can start if you like.
All right.
Let's keep it short.
Yeah.
And the only thing I have for Jeep tips is what I did today on the TJ.
And I've got a solution for some cheap rock lights for those who might be interested. So it'll kind of be a sort of a Jeep tips, electrical audio tips that we can combine into one.
Sure.
Right.
I would just mention that, and we're going to add a electrical and audio tip to this Jeep tips. Call it for what it is.
Yeah. You want to skip some chit chat? I don't really have any exciting Jeep stuff going on per se.
Well, let's use the time to talk about iTunes and the site, xjtalk.com, forum, join, etc., etc. Now, I did see something kind of interesting. I don't know how well known this is, but you have the ability on Facebook to track how your page is doing, and it will allow you to see how many likes that you've gotten or how many unlikes. In other words, people unfriending you or unliking your page. And they allow you to track not only your page but other pages. That way you can kind of see how you're doing in correspondence or corresponding to other sites.
Yeah.
And they want 5. You have to have 5, and I didn't have 5. I've got 3 sites I would like to track. 3 web pages that also have Facebook pages. So I started tracking Pirate and Naxja.
Okay.
And XJ Talk is doing about as good as Naxja, and doing a hell of a lot better than Pirate, who had a negative 110. Ooh. There was 110 unlikes or unfriends or whatever you want to call it.
Now, is that since the inception of the site, or is that year to date? Or
no, it's just during the time period, which may be weekly. I don't know that much about it. It's a good question, though.
I'll ask that during the show, and we can make the same response or whatever. I think that good to highlight that.
Yeah, see, they're at a negative 97 right now.
All right.
XJ Talk, which also has a just a page, is at a +6. Naxja is at a +8, and Pirate4x4.com negative 97. And I kind of wonder if that has something to do with the site being purchased.
Oh, very well could be.
So,
yeah, that's an interesting point.
I think we can chit-chat about why they may be down so much.
One other thing, I DJ'd a huge off-road show this weekend, and wouldn't mind just doing a little blurb about it if we've got
sure.
A minute or so.
I think we got all kinds of time. We got an hour to fill, and let's not hold back. Let's chat her up.
Okay.
I mean, there are nightly shows of one person talking all night. I mean, they do have call-ins, but so. I thought about it today. I didn't go look, but don't you have some interviews that we should probably get to before they get really stale?
I know. Let me open up the Dropbox. Oh, here, speaking of Dropbox, have you been getting the notifications that we're running out of space?
Nope.
I have.
Maybe you're running out of space.
I don't have a Dropbox.
You have to.
Oh, okay.
You have to have an account.
I have an account, but I don't use my Dropbox. I use your Dropbox. I think I'm using your Dropbox. Isn't that where all of the stuff that I put?
Yeah. No notifications. I'll check into it, but
all right. And so because of that, I deleted the intros that we've already played out of that folder. I don't know. You may have seen that already, but so in the openers, there's nothing else in there except for the finished intro for the show. I mean, I've got everything archived on my hard drive.
Were you unable to save anything to Dropbox? Is that why you cleared it up, or you were just being proactive?
I was just being cautious, just in case. I didn't want you to, go looking for space, something important that you wanted to put up there, and there not be enough room for it, or somebody sharing some audio clip. Maybe Nikki did another interview or something, and I don't know if he posted up to this or what. So I just wanted to make sure there was a little bit extra room, and I know those things aren't very big at all, but I figured better safe than sorry, and I didn't want to delete anything that could potentially be important otherwise. So I figured, well, shit, I've already got copies of those. If Tony needs them or wants them, I can give him everything I've got. So and we'll figure that out at a later time. So I figured that's at least pertinent, having this night filter in there at least. So
okie dokie. Let me see. Well, it's 10 o'clock, so let's get this puppy going.
Breaking news at the XJ Talk Show news desk. Clan of wrestling midgets attacked and killed by a gaggle of fake hookers. Full story right after this.
Hey, stud. It's time for the XJ Talk Show. Now, here's my two favorite boys, Tony and Josh.
Well, thank you very much. Glad to be back this week. My name is Tony. I'm also known as Motorroy on xjtalk.com, which is a premier Jeep Cherokee forum. And here's my co-host.
I'm Josh, otherwise known as NW99XJ or Northwest 99XJ. And we're not just a premier Jeep site on the interwebs. We are the premier Jeep site on the interwebs.
Well, gee, I hope it wasn't false modesty I was going with. I mean, there's so many other Jeep sites out there, and there's some really good Jeep Cherokee sites. We're just another one of those, but gosh, I'm just really proud to be a part of xjtalk.com, and if you guys aren't already aware of it, that's why we do the podcast, was because of the website. And we talk about Jeeps, Cherokees. We talk about MJs, TJs, Grand Cherokees. We talk badly about Liberties, and we talk very, very badly about the 2014 Jeep Cherokee.
Oh, yes, we most certainly do. It's otherwise known as the Cherokee. We all love to hate, and it's no exception over here.
But don't get us wrong. We're not just like all the rest of the Cherokee websites where, and I'm not going to say they do it 100% of the time, but it's just enough to piss you off, where somebody comes in and says, Google's your friend. That question's been asked 1,000 times before, or my God, you're posting to a really old post. We don't do that crap at xjtalk.com. Everybody has to learn. Not everybody is a forum master. Not everybody's a Jeep Cherokee master mechanic. So we're there to help you and answer your questions. And damn it, ask that question, and if your mom won't spell the word for you, we're not going to tell you to go look it up in the dictionary. We'll look it up for you.
That's right, xjtalk.com, probably one of the friendliest Jeep sites out on the web, and of course chock full of a lot of useful information. A ton of people that have been in the exact same shoes that you are in right now, or maybe that you have been in the past. Tons of useful tech tips, as well as some good entertainment as well.
Yeah, and now if you are the type individual where you do like berating people that don't know as much as you, there's plenty of forums out on the internet where you could have lots of fun. And frankly, if you do that on xjtalk.com, we're going to respect you just like we respect any other member on the site. And we're going to send you a PM. We're going to edit your post. We're going to tone it down a notch or 20, depending on how bad it is. And we're going to counsel you privately so that we're not embarrassing you in front of the general public. So we try to do it on the up and up. We try to have respect for everybody, even for the folks that don't seem to want to be respected because of the way they try to deal with people from the, as I put it, the relative security behind their screen from 1,000 miles away.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the point of other sites and stuff, Tony. And one of the things we're going to get to later on in the show is talking about some of the other sites and, how XJ Talk measures up to some of those. So you guys stick around. We're going to get to all sorts of stuff. We're going to play a little bit of our game that we haven't played in a while called You Bought What. That's going to be real fun. And Tony and I are going to share some tech tips for you later on in the show as well.
Yep. We've got some voicemails. We also have something we haven't done in a while, the Amazon You Bought What tonight.
Yep, that's going to be a lot of fun as well. And folks, speaking of voicemails, if you'd like to leave us a voicemail, we have a 24/7 voicemail line that you guys can reach the show through. You got a comment about the show, you want to share your own idea for a Jeep tips or an electrical and audio tips. Maybe there's a Jeep-related news story in the papers or on the interwebs that you found you'd like to share with us. Well, anything that you could possibly think of, you can give that 24/7 voicemail line a call and share your piece. That number is 530-675-4102. Chances are the message you leave might just end up on the show.
And speaking of that, let's get to this week with Nikki G. Hey, this is Tony.
And this is Josh from the XJ Talk Show. We want to thank you for calling our 24/7 voice line.
Yes, we do. Just leave your first name and your question or comment.
There's no guarantee, but we may play your message on the podcast.
Oh, and don't worry about keeping it clean. We'll take care of that.
Now it's your turn to speak at the beep.
Hey, this is Nikki G. I'm got the show, and I gotta tell you, I am very jealous of Josh and Matt getting to go off-road, especially out of state. That's gotta be great. I wish I could go off-road more. I've logged lots of hours, hundreds of hours off-road. Not much of it intentional, though. I'd like to go somewhere and see some different sites and stuff. What I do is really can't be called off-road as much as it's called trespassing through construction zones. And that's about it. All right, guys, I will chat at you later. You guys have a good one. Bye.
First off, thanks a lot for calling in, Nikki G. We really appreciate that. Josh, I was just thinking of something when he said about construction zones. I was listening to Dan and his 4x4 podcast last week. I forget what episode it was, and he was talking with somebody that was in Arkansas, and they were talking about where that they have so many millions and millions of acres that they can go off road in Arkansas. And I can't remember if he said he was from Texas or he had. Oh no, they have this thing that they put on up there in Arkansas, and he gets a lot of people from Texas because even though Texas is so big, it's all privately owned and fenced off, and there is like very little or no public lands available to go off road. And I was really, really surprised. I remember I took the family out in the Jeep. It was right after I'd done the lift, and took the family out, and I was going to show the girls some fossils because I had gone deer hunting one of the few times I've been deer hunting out to West Texas, and I was just surprised that everywhere you looked, fossils just everywhere. Now, it was marine life. It wasn't any of the, the big dinosaur stuff. So, there's a lot of marine life that has come and gone. So, obviously, they've left a lot of fossils, but just the idea of everywhere you looked. So we were out there, and I didn't remember exactly where I was because it had been many years earlier. And I also was kind of interested in getting off-road with my Jeep, especially, after lifting it and putting the tires on it.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And every place we went was fenced. There was no place that I could even just take off across a field. And I was thinking to myself, there must be several $1 billion of fencing material here in Texas because it is all fenced. And I thought, how horrible is this? This is a huge state. It's the frontier. It was at one time, and wide open spaces, and the wide open spaces are still there, but they just have these big fences around them.
Yeah, that's too bad. At least you guys have something down there that we don't have up here, which are actual bona fide off-road parks. And I see those kind of things like on Power Block Extreme 4x4, which is a great show. I love that show. And it seems like they always take their rigs out, for a test run or a shakedown run to these off-road parks. And it's all, private land, and they've got these very specific runs and different trail systems and stuff like that. Now, we've got trail systems in areas we off-road that are legal up here, but we don't have those off-road parks, these OHV parks, which to me sounds like a water park or an amusement park kind of, but for off-roading. Now, of course, I've never been to one, an official, off-road park, but it's something that we don't have up here in the Northwest. So, I consider, areas like perhaps Arkansas or even Texas or these other places out in the Midwest that have those sort of things, well, quite lucky that they at least have a place they can still go to and wheel legally if they want.
Now, you've gone some places recently, not the Rubicon, but I mean, prior to that, you went some places. That wasn't an off-road park?
Oh, no. These were off-road. Like, for instance, the place I usually go to, it's about an hour and a half drive from where I live. It's called the Tillamook State Forest, and this is a state forest. By all intents and purposes, it's regulated by the Oregon Department of Forestry, and there is a mapped out, sanctioned, maintained trail system up there, and it's actually quite expansive, in fact. And there's a few others around the area that are a little bit smaller. That just so happens to be the biggest and probably by far the most popular, at least here in Oregon. Now there's some stuff up in Washington, in fact, where I was at earlier this summer, late spring, that I went to. That was up in Washington, and that was a lot of fun. And it's the same sort of thing. It's state land. It's public land that they have developed trail systems for off-roading on that are maintained by the state usually. Now, at least up in by my neck of the woods, a lot of the trail systems are adopted. For instance, NAXJA, North American XJ Association, we have a trail that we've adopted, and it's up to us to make sure that litter is picked up if there is any, and we do some routine maintenance and stuff like that on it. So there's a lot of stuff like that, and it develops this stewardship with the state and local governments it's that relationship, that stewardship that promotes this kind of off-roading. It promotes land use, open land use. It promotes us having access to public land. It's public land. Why shouldn't we have access to it? And so with that kind of relationship, trails get developed, trails get built, trails stay open, because nobody likes it when a trail gets closed for whatever reason, whether it be, because of, a rock harvesting or a forestation process, or some jackass being stupid and going up there and tearing things up and going off the trail, or getting injured or something like that. It's all about maintaining a good relationship and keeping the trails open.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess that still rubs me the wrong way. I understand if it's public land and they're letting you in there and you need to behave and do things right. That's fine. I guess the problem, and I've mentioned this before, that I have with that is that a little old Jeep or even a monster truck is going to do a limited amount of damage to this big old huge thing we call Earth. And I think people get a little overboard in their tree hugginess of this clump of grass or this creature that is only living here for in this area because of this water and blah blah blah. Well, if they were meant to keep living, they would be a little more tenacious.
Yeah, God forbid anything were to happen to the wily spotted dung beetle or something like that.
So I don't mean to be uncaring to the environmentalists, but bite me.
No, absolutely. Well, in fact, I had some dealings with them just last year when we were redeveloping a trail that we had adopted, and there was a closure due to a rock harvesting operation where they brought in a big drilling rig and they put it where they weren't supposed to. They drilled and then blasted the hillside to harvest all these rocks. And you think harvesting rock, you think it's like growing corn. No,
endangered
not exactly.
Rock.
Well, the company that did that, they ended up using a little bit too much dynamite or whatever, and it fractured that hillside. And the Oregon Department of Forestry said, okay, well that's not safe anymore for vehicle travel, so we're just going to close that trail. And we didn't like that. They didn't really like having to do that, so we had to. Well, we didn't have to, but we stepped up to the plate and said, oh well, tell you what. If we redesign a new trail system here, if we redesign this trail, can we incorporate it into the existing system and build it while you guys keep this open? And they said, absolutely. Well, one of the biggest things that we had to account for was sustainability. We had to keep these enviro-nuts happy. And so, we had to make sure that there was, proper erosion control and that the trail was going to be sustainable in the long term. Now, sure, anybody can just cut a swath through, a hillside and say, okay, ready, go. But, over the course of, months, a few seasons or a few years, well, that could end up being a huge, massive rut, or it could end up being, potential landslide or, whatever. And so, the sustainability and environmental control really was crucial in the development of this new trail. And it's still a work in progress, mind you, but it was just one of those things that we had to do. Now, it's not so bad, when you take into account the bigger picture. If we gotta put a little berm here and we got to put some gravel there or something like that, that's not really that bad in the bigger picture if it keeps the enviro-nuts off our back. As long as the trail's open, I don't care.
Yeah, I know, and there's nothing wrong with it. If you're okay with that, you don't have to not be okay with it. That's just me, and that goes for you guys listening as well. It just kind of rubs me the wrong way, especially when it's private land. Public land, you kind of got to do what you got to do.
Right.
Private land, that's when it pisses me off whenever people start coming in and saying, oh, no, sorry. Whoa, this is my land. I paid for it. You didn't. It's not the bigger picture. It's not any of that. I'll dig out 3 miles down, edge to edge property line if I want to, and you better stay 10 feet back. But anyway, it's just, I guess, that's just the old way of thinking, Josh, the old folks not thinking that land is anything other than a possession. And that's definitely the way I look at it.
No, I'm with you there. I personally wish that, for you, for instance, if you've got these big land barons and they've got these massive expanses of private land that are just sitting there doing nothing, it's just, 10,000 square miles of dirt. Well, why not do something with it? Why not bring in something like an OHV park? Why not make some money off of it? Why not give some recreation back to the public? it's going to be used. It's going to bring in income. It's going to generate revenue. And hell, a lot of people are going to have a really good time. So, why not, get rid of some of that stuffiness and bring out a couple bulldozers and bring in some rocks and let's do this.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be all for just opening it up and let people go on it. The downside of that, of course, is liability and, people on your property. We got to do something about the legal system in this country, how litigious our society is and keeps us really from doing things because there's other people that would rather sue than work for a living.
Yeah, don't get me started on all that nonsense.
Yeah.
That's another podcast.
I'm going down a road that I shouldn't go, or we should hold for another show.
Well, speaking of another podcast, let me just real quick give a quick plug, folks. If you like the droning of Tony and I going on about things, well, we do have another podcast. It's called The Tony and Josh Show, and you guys can head over to tonyandjosh.com and check out all the details of our other podcasts that we do, where we take the gloves off and there's no holds barred.
Yep, and we talk about a lot of different things. It could be some movie, maybe not even a current movie, maybe a movie that Josh or I just saw recently that has been out for some time, or recent movies, or could be about politics. It could be about gun control, which has to do with politics, but could just be about the biggest gun that's available to anybody that has $17,000 to spend.
Or stuff space pizza.
Yeah. Or printing ears and SMEAT and all kinds of things. So yeah, we have a lot of fun over there. We talk about a lot of things that we wouldn't normally talk about here.
Well, speaking of talking about things, Tony, there's one thing I didn't really talk about. I think it was our last show that I got back from the Rubicon and was sharing my experiences with. I got to give some credit. There's a little bit of a story that just sort of slipped my mind. I didn't really either have time to share, or I was wanting to talk about some other stuff. But one of our fans, one of our website supporters, Steve, 4.3LXJ, he's been a huge contributor to the podcast. He was actually supposed to join me out there. And I don't know if many of you guys knew this, but Steve was supposed to hook up with us, and we were going to meet and sort of run the trail system together. I wasn't bringing my own Jeep, and he'd insured me that I was going to get some seat time regardless in a Cherokee if it came hell or high water. Well, Steve I was supposed to meet up with Steve in a little town called Placerville. It's about the last little bit of civilization before you head up into the hills. And what happened was Steve got there a little bit sooner than we did. In fact, by a couple of hours sooner. And so he was just going to bide his time until we rolled into town and then join our convoy. Well, the problem is that Steve ended up getting stranded, unfortunately. There was something going on with his electrical system, something with his coil, or in any regard, his Jeep didn't have any spark. And he was 2 hours from home at the very least. And he had no means of getting back home. And we were still several hours out. And we were rolling, and we were behind schedule anyways, having to deal with being behind schedule because of the trailer issues we had at the beginning of the trip. Yeah. And so I was riding passenger, mind you, so I didn't have any tools with me. I didn't have any of my diagnostic equipment. I didn't have anything to really support him. All I could do is try and give him some advice and do some troubleshooting over the phone. I felt really bad because honestly, if it was up to me, I would have postponed this trip another, 3 or 4 hours if it came down to it to help him out. But, I was at the mercy of, the convoy who I was rolling with, and they wanted to get to camp. It was getting late. We had an early start in the morning, and we just basically had to push through. I still feel bad about it because even though Steve did manage to get home, I think he ended up having to track down his wife, call his wife, have her bring down the truck and trailer and tow the Jeep back home. And it's a lot of trouble. So Steve, if you're listening, man, I'm sorry. I wish I could have done more for you. I really wish that we could have wheeled together. It would have been very nice to meet you. And I told him when we were on the phone that, I wish there was more I could do, but there's always going to be a next time. I will be back down to the Rubicon in 2015, if not maybe a little bit sooner. But by then, hopefully he'll have his electrical gremlins all figured out and we can get back on the trail together.
Well, I'm sorry to hear about that. Yeah, I did remember you saying that you were going to be hooking up with Steve out there and getting some passenger and pilot and command time in a Jeep, and you didn't mention that. I figured that it just something had happened. I didn't realize that Steve had an issue like that. I haven't even seen him post anything up on xjtalk.com about the issues. I wonder if he's got them resolved.
I would hope so. I guess he was in a parking lot, and for all intents and purposes, he was stranded. And a cop ended up coming by at one point and was questioning him or something. And I don't know what kind of character Steve is or how he stands out in a crowd, but I guess the police officer was extremely friendly, and Steve was not in a parking lot in which he could spend the night. Let's just say that. So the officer helped him, I guess, push the Jeep to another parking lot or in an area where he was going to be safe if he had to spend the night. So, I mean, at least, worst case scenario, he had provisions with him. He had everything he needed to survive for a week, or just about. So, I mean, I feel bad in the sense I couldn't help him, but I knew that he was going to be okay in the long run. It was just going to take a little while and certainly a lot of trouble. So hopefully he did get everything all figured out, and his Jeep is back on the road, or at least back on the trail.
Wow, that's I'll have to check with him. I'm surprised I hadn't heard anything about that. I hope it turned out to be nothing, no big deal. I guess he actually got to a parking lot, stopped, and then couldn't get it started.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. So, and in the long run, I mean, the bottom line is he got home okay, and that's really all that matters. So,
yeah, still, it's got to kind of hurt to leave somebody stranded like that. It's almost like
it's not my character. It's not my style.
Like the Marines. We leave no man behind.
No soldier left behind, indeed.
All right. Well, I thought I would mention I do try to check every week to see if we have any iTunes reviews. And Josh, I don't know if you noticed or not there in the notes, I have a link where you can actually check now. I didn't realize that it was available just on the web. You don't have to have iTunes installed to look and look at the reviews.
That was some sort of moderator privilege only, or site owner sort of thing. But that's a very handy link.
Yeah. No, I just did a general search. And I had assumed in the past that it was you had to have iTunes loaded before you could go and look. Of course, people can go and look at the reviews. I mean, that's why the reviews are really there, not for us to talk about them, but for people to judge if they want to take the time to listen to the show or not. But anyway, we haven't talked about our iTunes reviews in a while, and that also means we haven't had any. So whenever I checked, there weren't any. So we want to take a moment and encourage you guys to get out there, get on iTunes, go over to podcasts in the iTunes store, and look up the XJ Talk Show if you haven't already been there, if you haven't already seen it. Hell, if you've already done a review, I don't think there's anything keeping you from doing another one.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, give us a 5-star review and put in some kind words. If there's something that you would prefer to see done differently, or one of us to die, please put that in there too.
Oh, with Halloween around the corner, I'm sure that we'll probably start getting some of those here pretty soon. No, folks, just like Tony said, we'd love for you guys to head over to iTunes, and if you're using iTunes, even if you're not, go ahead and download it, and just for the sake of the show, if nothing else. But please tell a friend. Have your little circle of friends. Like us on Facebook, or even head over to iTunes and give us a 5-star review. Have them leave a comment as well. We love the feedback. We love to hear about it. And of course, every 5-star review helps us climb the charts just a little bit more.
Oh, and of course, we need to mention our YouTube channel, youtube.com/channel/xjtalk, where you can actually see these videos, because we're actually doing a YouTube live event right now. We record the podcast every Sunday, 10 p.m. Central Time, and there were several people that were asking for the old-time Ustream broadcast that we would do at the same time of the recording. So we were doing that on Ustream for a while, and now we've switched over to YouTube live events, and you can actually go to our YouTube channel and see Josh and I doing the show. And the kind of cool thing is there's a bit of pre-show and a bit of after-show, depending on the recording. I think there's always some after-show, but the podcast is about an hour, and the video may last an hour and 20, an hour and 30, just depends.
Well, and oftentimes I'll go ahead and throw something in front of the camera to, throw a curveball, or just to share, an experience that I had recently. So you never know what you're going to find on those. And so we're glad to kind of get away from the Ustream thing. It was a little bit unreliable, at least for us. There were some complaints about consistency and stuff. Well, we're glad to be able to move over to YouTube, have that kind of power, and we'll have another opportunity to share with you guys a live show and a live broadcast.
Now, unfortunately, one thing that is missing in the YouTube live events is the ability to chat with your fellow viewers. And that is one thing that was a lot of fun for the Ustream folks. So we'd like to encourage you to go over to xjtalk.com. If you're not a member, join, and then use the xjtalk.com chat that's on every page, near the top of every page of xjtalk.com. And you guys can congregate and talk about things as the show's going on there. So I think with the great audio quality, which is actual stereo, Josh, we actually have stereo on YouTube live events, none of that mono crap. And we also have commercial free, which was the biggest complaint, one of the biggest complaints about Ustream. Quality was one, and then the commercials that would just come in out of left field, no telling where Josh and I were in the show, just interrupt us. And, I'll remind everybody, and you too, Josh, that we could have not had that. All we had to do is pay YouTube for the privilege of not having commercials.
Ustream.
Yes, Ustream.
Yes. Yeah. No, and mind you, folks, that those commercials were certainly not benefiting Tony, myself, or the site, the podcast in any way, shape, or form. So we're glad to be through a different venue, I guess, or stream avenue. I think that was the word I was looking for, being able to bring you guys another facet of the show.
Yep. Well, I don't blame any company for wanting to make money, but bringing a commercial right at the top of a show without any kind of, there's no, every 15 minutes we're going to have this, or something comes up on my screen that we're now doing a commercial, and I think they were random for people too. I don't think it was like it at the same time for everybody. Some people weren't getting them very often. Some people were. That's like you could see them in the chat room. Another damn commercial.
Well, speaking of YouTube, guys, head over to the YouTube channel. Just do a search for xjtalk.com, xjtalk at YouTube, or just like Tony said, YouTube/channel/xjtalk. And please subscribe to the feed. We always posting up lots of good stuff. There's plenty of stuff. Of course, you also got access to the entire archive of the shows from this point forward.
Hey, this is Tim from Jeep Tubes, and you're listening to the XJ Talk Show.
xjtalk.com. It's where you go when you're not off-road.
Hey, Josh, we had a show several months back where I did an interview. Well, I don't know if I would. No, I didn't do an interview. It was kind of sort of like that. Anyway, I digress. We were talking about Jeep sites or off-road sites being purchased by a company. And
we had some live call-ins for that as well. We had some live interviews during that show. That was actually a really great and informative show as well.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because I remembered there was a guy that had been contacting me via email wanting to purchase xjtalk.com. And as it turned out, after doing that show, I think it was like the next day, I got another email from the guy saying, hey, have you send me the information about the Google Analytics and blah, 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 because they wanted to try to come up with how much xjtalk.com was worth so that they could make an offer for it. And I said, it's funny, we had a podcast about this subject just the other day, and I tried to encourage him to come on and be interviewed, because who better to be interviewed than a representative from the company that was buying several of these sites, or had bought several of these sites.
Yeah, that would have been great. I would have loved to have heard, from that side of the coin.
Yeah, and I think that if I recall properly, I did not take personally, it kind of bugs me that somebody is a company that doesn't have a vested interest in off-road or Jeeps or whatever, is purchasing websites, forums, simply so that they can have the advertising dollars and the connection with all the members that are on these sites.
Yeah.
Now I do not recall, let me take this back. I'm not for 100% sure, but I do believe Pirate 4x4 was purchased by a company, and I do not recall if it was the same company that was wanting to purchase xjtalk.com, the same one that purchased Cherokee Forum, so on and so forth. But I found it interesting. XJ Talk has a Facebook page, kind of like a person, And, you can get up to like 5,000 friends on a personal Facebook page.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, but when you get to 5,000, you can't friend any more people.
Oh, okay.
So now I didn't really understand how this thing worked whenever I set up the Facebook page for XJ Talk. And it was after that I realized that I could set up a kind of a more of a business type page where you have people can like you. You're not friends with them. They can just like your page.
Right.
So I set that up as well. So we kind of have two Facebook sites, and it's kind of, I think it's a little confusing, but it's kind of good from the standpoint that if and when we get to the 5,000, we can always shut that one down, that personal type of Facebook page, and move everything over to the more business-ish or forum type thing. Anyway, we're currently looking at about 768 likes on the non-personal Facebook page, and they've got it kind of configured where you can pay to boost posts that are on your site or on your Facebook page, and they'll actually tell you how many people actually saw your stories or your posts. Because several years ago, if you put something up on Facebook and you had 500 friends saw that on their page. Well, I think now that Facebook has gone to like 500 million members, I think they're having problems moving that much data around to that many screens.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah. So they're kind of not pushing all the information to everybody. I think that you can go on there in your account and choose who you want to see everything from, but it's not done that way by default. So anyway, one of the things that I saw on the non-personal Facebook page was this little column called Pages to Watch. And in the Pages to Watch, you can put in just whatever page you want to see, and it will tell you about the number of likes that those pages are getting. Now, to me, I was thinking that, hey, I'd like to keep track of how XJ Talk is doing, and perhaps Wrangler Talk, and even Dit, which is our ham site, sister site. And but they want 5. They want 5 pages to watch. I don't know why, but they want 5 to watch. So I thought, well, okay, I've got 3. I'll throw Naxja in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll throw, what's another one? Oh, Pirate. I'll throw Pirate 4x4 in there. So, a lot of this stuff, I don't really know what it is until I try it and then kind of watch it. Well, I've been watching this, and I noticed that Naxja has, and I don't know what time period this is. It could be for the day or for the week. I get the feeling it couldn't be much longer than a week because the numbers are kind of small. But the Naxja has I'm looking at it right now, and Naxja has a 8. A green 8 with a little up arrow, which means to me that they've had 8 likes. They've increased by 8 likes. And I thought what was interesting is likes this week. All you have to do is hover over the thing and it tells you, damn it.
There we go. I was going to say, it's we can guess on the time frame, but like you said, the numbers are pretty low enough. It shouldn't be more than a day or a week. But yeah, so in the last week, Naxja's Facebook page has had 8 likes.
Yep. Now, they have a total of 1,655 likes. So it's really a really low number, I think, for a site the size of Naxja. But I don't know how much they press the Facebook on from their site. That I don't know if they really tell their population very much about it. Now, XJ Talk has, the Facebook page has 6 likes this week. And interestingly enough, I had gone over to alexa.org, where actually they keep up with how well the websites are doing, and we're approaching we're getting close to Naxja numbers, which I was pretty impressed with. I posted that up, and we're still a good ways off, but we're getting closer to Naxja.
Now, one thing is that Naxja is primarily, their name is North American XJ Association. We're a global entity. And now we've got members, we've got fans, we've got listeners all over the globe.
Yep.
Now, recently you added something to the website, which I thought was really, really cool. And I've never shared this with you, but I thought it's been very neat, and a little bit of personal gratification as well. Seeing the development of that little map that you added to the bottom of the page that shows little red dots as far as where all the members are, coming from. It's got a little, map of the globe, so to speak, and there's little red dots showing, where people are listening from or active from. It even shows some of like an active ping if somebody is currently active on the site, which nation, which continent they're browsing from. And the amount of dots that have increased over the weeks has just been absolutely amazing, Tony. That little map really helps put things into perspective, just how popular xjtalk.com has become.
It's really cool, too, because when I see a flashing, a ping, if you will, red dot in New Zealand, I know Wayne's on.
No, I think it's about the only dot that's over there. But
we've got a few people from New Zealand. I mean, more in Australia actually, yeah. But it's a fair bet that it's probably our moderator extraordinaire in New Zealand in Christchurch, Cantab 27.
Yeah, no, that's right. It's listeners all around the globe. Now,
it's really cool, isn't it?
It really is. It's really and seeing the list of countries. Holy cow! That list of countries has grown exponentially over the week. I think there's one page that you can click on and go to, and it'll actually list out all the different countries and regions and stuff like that,
yep.
And even subcategory, like North America. And then you can see all the different states that people are listening from or active through,
mm-hmm.
and just that list is now it's a mile long. It seems like it's really cool to see the diversity that the site is bringing in. And I don't think that there is any other Jeep related site that can have that kind of a stake, that kind of a claim to a global market that xjtalk.com does.
Well, that's one of the things that you can see on Alex. I don't know if I'm saying it right. It's Alex with an A.org. Alexa. Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things you can see because they give you a U.S. stat and then they give you a worldwide stat.
Oh, interesting.
And our USA stats is what I'm referring to for Naxja. And,
okay.
And we're actually within striking distance of matching Naxja. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's tens of 20s or thousands, but still, it's within striking distance. And this isn't members. This is what you would say is like page images. So somebody has to go and request a page image, and when that comes, when you get that, then you kind of get a point with this site. And anyway, getting back to my original point, XJ Talk, the non-public, or I'm sorry, the non-personal XJ Talk site, Facebook site, has a +6, Naxja a +8, and the top one, the number one, because it's number one because the total number of likes that they have, pirate4x4.com, has a -97.
Ooh.
97 people have unliked pirate4x4.com. Now, percentage-wise, it's not that big a deal because they have 34,837 likes. We call that in Texas a buttload.
Yeah. That's a pretty big number nonetheless. But however, seeing that number of dislikes kind of really shows the character, or I guess, if you're not getting something from a website, or you certainly get turned off for one reason or another from a website, you're gonna go a different direction.
Yeah, I can't imagine that 97 people have decided that they don't like four-wheeling anymore. I mean, four-wheeling's pretty much in your life for your entire life. You may not be active in it, but you always have something, there.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle for most of us, at least.
Yeah, and I saw this, and the reason why I even brought this up tonight was I saw this the other day, and it was a -110. So that must have been last week's numbers. And it's probably a rolling weekly thing, so they probably have not had as many dislikes in the last couple of days. That's why it's only 97 now. But anyway, I was just really surprised to see that figure at a -97, and I can't help but wonder. Here's the 15-minute loop tie-in. I can't help but wonder if it has to do with them being purchased and run differently by this company.
Well, now, Tony, that purchase or that change, not necessarily a change in format, but definitely change in ownership or management or whatever. I mean, really was a focus on advertising. That's really where that sort of change came in. Now, I'm from the kind of I'm cut from the cloth where I don't like commercials. I don't have a DVR, so if a commercial comes up on cable, I'll just go to a different channel. Find something else to watch for the next 5, 6, 7 minutes, whatever. So it's that kind of thing that I think is what's turning a lot of people off. It's too many commercials. Maybe there's a lot more abrasive people on there. It's probably a number of things that is causing people to go elsewhere. And hopefully some of those dislikes, some of those people that are going away from Pirate are coming over to xjtalk.com.
Well, I mean, certainly the technical, I don't want to say expertise, but the technical things that are done to four-wheel drives on Pirate are very neat to look at. And the problem that I've always had, and really what turned me off immediately years ago, whenever I first started doing the four-wheel drive stuff, was that is Pirate 4x4 is the poster child for how forums should not behave, in my opinion.
No, I'm with you there. They it's a little bit more of a rowdy crowd. It's certainly, I would say, probably the polar opposite to what xjtalk.com is.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, there's restaurants that I remember hearing about that you could go to and be abused by the staff, and that was the drawing power. The food, you never heard about that, Josh, where they would actually come in, you would go in and they would abuse you. They would verbally abuse you.
Now, to me, this sounds like some sort of fetish thing. I can't.
I think it was a California thing, actually.
Yeah, well, it sounds like it.
No, but there was a restaurant you could go to, maybe several, and that was the pull, because they would bring people in, and these people, actresses and actors probably, and they would just berate you and belittle you and roll their eyes and give you the worst service that you could possibly get. And it was like a show. It was like going to a show, watching these people, and the participants there, the customers, would laugh and enjoy and make comments, and they probably would even join in. Hell, they probably shot a few people. I'm sorry, California.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, that's kind of the way I look at Pirate 4x4. I'm sure there's a draw to some individuals, but I try to treat people with respect, and I certainly expect them to treat me with respect. And I made the decision a long time ago that I wasn't going to disrespect somebody from my screen on the internet. If I'm going to say something to you, I'm going to say it to your face. Because
if it's going to be a disrespectful nature, sure.
Oh, if I've got a problem with them, or I may still try to be respectful, but I may tell them exactly what I'm thinking of them at the time. Because my theory is it really doesn't count unless you're within arm's reach of the person that you're talking to. Because now I'm not saying there should be violence, but you are putting yourself in a position where there could be. So you feel strongly enough about your position that you're willing to stand up and face somebody and tell them face to face. That means a lot more to me than somebody going, scratching their privates, and with the other hand, they're typing how, what big of a jerk you are, and, why don't you read, and nobody puts beat locks on anymore, and blah, 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 whatever. So I learned a long time ago that Pirate was not where I wanted to be. That's my personal choice. There's a lot of good stuff there.
No, I agree with you. I actually, myself, I've benefited from some of the tech that's on Pirate. They generally are sort of on the more extreme side of fabrication and builds and whatnot. Now, that being said, there's still some very good, valuable information to be had from Pirate. But I certainly wouldn't spend much time there, trying to socialize or anything like that. I'll use it as a resource. I'll get in, I'll get out, and take what I need, and I'll spend my time in a more friendlier site like xjtalk.com.
Well, the thing that gets me is and this has always puzzled me. And this kind of goes back to the thing about this post is a very old post. Why are you dredging this post up from 2 years ago or 6 months ago or a month ago? This is a dead post. I don't understand why forums. Now I understand why individuals might do this. I don't understand why forums would discourage or allow discouragement of posts. What is a forum?
Exactly. I mean, this obviously was a good enough topic at one point for discussion and the sharing of ideas and information. And somebody comes along 2 years later, 3 years later, whatever, and says, "Hey, I'm kind of going through the same thing. How about this, or what about that, or how did this turn out, or something like that." Now, even if it is 2, 3, 4 years old, if the person is still active on the site, they're going to get a notification most likely. That something has popped up, and that information can be shared, or at least the discussion can be reopened from with other people. You can go back and look at the topic of discussion and look at the information that's been shared already, and why not expand on that and share more about it? It seems like a no-brainer, but to sit there behind the keyboard and start going off on somebody for replying to a topic that's a couple of years old, so what?
Yeah.
They're trying to get some information out of it. All they're looking for is a little bit of help. Like somebody, sinking in in quicksand and their arms out. What you're going to do is, well, what are you putting your arm out for? That's a stupid idea.
There was 5 people in that same bit of quicksand last week doing the same thing. Why do you think it's going to be different when you do it?
Silly.
It's just, to me, is just counterintuitive and insane.
This is Dan from the 4x4 podcast, and you're listening to the XJ Talk Show.
Amazon.com and the XJ Talk Show present You Bought What?
Oh, my God, Josh. It's been so long since we did an Amazon You Bought What?
I was just going to say, man, it's been a while since we've done this, so let's go ahead and refresh some of our newer listeners as to what we're doing. Amazon You Bought What? Well, guys, we've got a little bit of a relationship with Amazon.com. It's easy to participate. What happens is you go over to xjtalk.com or xjtalkshow.com. You click on the Amazon banner there. If you're buying something online, you do that first and foremost. It takes you directly to Amazon.com, where you can purchase just about anything that you can find online through Amazon. You get a great selection. You get a great price. And in fact, doing that, you're not going to pay a single penny, not a red cent more than you would otherwise. What happens is that Amazon is going to give us a little bit of a kickback. It's a way for you guys to support the show, or for your friends to support the show that you listen to. It's a little way to, for us to keep the lights on over here at the XJ Talk Show Command Center. And, in addition to that, Amazon has agreed to share with us what has been purchased. And we don't find out who has been buying anything. All we get to find out is what. We've had some really good and some very fun items that have popped up in the past. And some of the stuff is, just outright cool. We're going to go through some of the items that have been, bought recently. And I had to throw it in there. Just had to. Some of the stuff is really cool. So we're going to go through this list right now. Tony, why don't you go ahead and take the first one?
Oh, I sure will. Now, this isn't a big item, but I selected it because I think it's important for people to know about this, at least my personal opinion. This is a Superstat thermostat, a 195-degree Fahrenheit thermostat. Now, I think that's important because if you've got at least a 97 or later Jeep Cherokee 4.0, you need to run that 195-degree Fahrenheit thermostat. Not a 180, not a 160, because remember, it's not going to let your cooling system cool better because it's still going to go to the level that it would normally go. It just means it's going to take longer for it to get to the operating temperature, and it's going to cost you more gas in the process. You're going to be running rich until it gets up to temperature. So keep the 195 in there. It's not going to help you, especially the longer you run the engine.
Very good tip there, Tony. And then, obviously a great product to take care of your Jeep. So thank you for that purchase, whoever got that. I see here a K&N 99 5000 aerosol recharger filter care service kit. Obviously, this is for refreshing and chances are cleaning as well. A high-flow air filter like, the K&N, for instance. I'm running a high-flow air filter in my Jeep, and honestly, I'm due for a cleaning, in fact, and I need to get one of these kits. So I might just have to write down that SKU number and go to Amazon and pick one of these up for myself.
And I skipping down a bit here on the list because this list is very big, and we want to thank everybody for remembering us before you purchase at Amazon to click on our banner at xjtalk.com. But anyway, this is a best top black denim fabric upper half door set for a 1988 to 95 Wrangler. I specifically wanted to mention this one because we do have Wrangler and CJ owners listening to the podcast. And we want to thank you, especially the individuals out there that are clicking on our Amazon banner and purchasing through Amazon, but also, too, taking time to listen to the show, a Jeep Cherokee podcast. And I just want to throw it out there real quick. If there's anybody listening to the show that would like to join us and maybe not having to be here on Sunday nights, but, you could use a simple voice recorder to record a segment about Jeep Wranglers or CJs, we'd love to have you as a part of the team.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned the voice recorder. In fact, that's actually something that is on our list this evening. We've got a Sony digital flash voice recorder, and it's the ICD PX312 model. Now, I myself, I use one of the, I think it's a Zoom 1, I think it is, handheld digital voice recorder. That's what I usually use for my in the field recordings and stuff when I'm doing interviews and things like that. It's come in really handy, and a digital flash voice recorder of this caliber is definitely what you need for some good high quality submissions to the XJ Talk Show.
And we have one more, a Ford Ranger new driver's side headlight assembly. So not everybody has a Jeep. Not everybody has all Jeeps like we do here at the Motoroy household. We've got a 98 Cherokee, a 99 Cherokee, and a 2003 TJ. So it's great that you remember us whenever you're buying parts for your other vehicles. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And in fact, buying parts for my vehicle is something that I've done through Amazon as well. And it looks like this person purchased something similar to what I did. When I did my, as Tony has said, 56-ton steering upgrade to my Jeep, I purchased all of my tie rods through Amazon, my tie rod ends rather, through Amazon.com. And this person did as well. Crown Automotive, a 520-88512 passenger side steering tie rod end, purchased through Amazon.com. It's a great upgrade. Well, I don't know if it's an upgrade or at least a replacement. In any case, you can get just about anything for any one of your rigs through Amazon. This person did just that.
We just found out what you bought.
Oh my God, I just can't believe that made it on the list.
I'm about as excited as that guy is.
Well, this is it's a huge list. Folks, we barely even scratched the surface. We may do it next week. We may not wait another couple weeks before we get back to this, but keep up the great work. Guys, this is phenomenal. One of the larger lists I've seen in a long time. We appreciate your guys' support. Keep it up and be sure to tell a friend to head over to Amazon.com as well. But before they do any online purchasing, make sure they visit xjtalk.com first.
Hi, this is Tanya Francine with the National Weather Service Skywarn program, reminding you to keep an eye to the sky and listen to the XJ Talk Show.
xjtalk.com is where you go when you're not off-road. And now you can go to xjtalk.com when you're off-road too. Using your smartphone, install the Tappa Talk app, then search for XJ Talk. Take XJ Talk with you wherever you go. Jury duty, dinner with your spouse's parents, even, well, anywhere you need your XJ Talk fix.
xjtalk.com. It's where you go when you're not off-road.
Got a tip? We do. It's time for Jeep Tips.
Well, Josh, I think you had something on rock lights.
I did, in fact. Folks, if you're out and you're wheeling at night, well, or even if you find yourself wheeling back and the sun has gone down, you head out to the trail, and for whatever reason, well, you end up taking a long time to get over an obstacle, or, well, just time flies by when you're having fun. You find yourself trying to get back to the trailer or get back to civilization in the dark. Nothing can help you get off the trail faster, or at least safer and easier, than a set of rock lights. And what rock lights are, if you don't know, it's basically undercarriage lighting. This is lights that are going to shine down underneath the Jeep and help you put your tires where they need to be. Because it's awfully hard to try and navigate a trail by headlights alone. Now, off-road lights are going to help. They're going to illuminate a lot more of what's in front of you. But oftentimes, it's not what's in front of you that's important. It's what's underneath you that matters. So rock lights is where this comes into play. Now, there's a lot of very expensive kits out there, fancy LED stuff and all sorts of really cool, flashy, neat stuff, changes colors, strobe, all that kind of neat stuff. Well, that really doesn't help us a whole lot when we're out on the trail. It has to work and it has to illuminate. That's the most important thing. And a lot of us, well, we're trying to do this on a budget. So you can skip all those fancy LED, expensive lighting kits. They're neat, they're fancy, they certainly have that wow factor. But, when it comes down to it, why not spend a whole lot less and get about the same amount of light? Do it yourself, of course. Now, this is for your do-it-yourselfers out there. Now, what I'm talking about is hooking up your own rock lights underneath your own Jeep, or a friend's Jeep for that matter. Now, what I've done here recently, mind you, I've gotten a lot of my tips and advice for doing this from people online as well. I'm not the first person that's done this. In fact, a lot of people have done what I'm about to tell you. It's a little secret, well, maybe a little bit less known, at least in public circles, but online, there's going to be a lot of people you're going to find doing the same thing. So the write-up on how to do this is going to be, readily available. I'm going to go through a couple of tips on what you guys can look out for and how you're going to do it. Now, this isn't exactly a Jeep tip. This is more of an electrical and audio tip, but nonetheless, it's going to help get your Jeep off the trail when it matters most. Now, for cheap rock lights, you've got a few different options. My favorite, honestly, is Harbor Freight. I think you can go to Northern Tool. They sell some of the same sort of stuff. But in any case, go into the store actually, because Harbor Freight sells these clear lens halogen lights. It's a set of 2. They're 55 watts. That's a lot of light. Pretty much the same amount of light that's coming out of your headlights. And the SKU number, I'm going to give this number to you, so write it down. 37349. That's the number that's going to be on the side of the box. That's the number you're going to look for. Now, they don't have a whole lot of big selection of lights data over at Harbor Freight. Northern Tool might be a different number. In any case, you're going to be looking for these little halogen driving lights. Now, they do sell a different light. It's called a 12-volt halogen vehicle work light. That number is 93904. Now, that one is around about $8, but you only get one. Now, online, the other ones I mentioned first, they're around $20. In the store, they're about $13 to $12. On sale, they go down to about $8 or $9. And you can always get those 20% off coupons all over the place. So get yourself a great deal, get yourself some great lights, and mount these things up. Now, placement. This is where it's going to become critical because you don't just want to slap these things under there with some duct tape or zip ties. You're going to have to find a spot to mount these things to. That's going to get a little bit tricky, especially on a unibody rig. But there are plenty of places to mount these things. In fact, I'd actually recommend getting yourself some L brackets from like Home Depot or Lowe's or something like that. And you're going to be able to screw those onto the frame, or onto the unibody, and then mount the lights themselves to the L brackets. What you want to do, the best way to do this is to point the light mounted on the rear of the vehicle, and what I'm talking about on the rear, we're talking about the side of the frame of the unibody, underneath the rig, kind of up by the floorboard of sorts. You're going to point it, about where the front, you're going to mount it rather, right about where the front of the rear tire is, pointing towards the front. And again, you're going to mount another one on the back side or so of the rear of the front tire, pointing towards the back. You're basically creating like an X pattern of light. And that's going to generate a lot of light. It's going to put a lot of light where you need it the most. Now, that's going to require, of course, a couple of these kits. So, it's a relatively inexpensive purchase, especially when you're looking at, if you depending on which one you go, spending less than $40 to get a lot of light put underneath your rig. Now, wiring these things up, well, you want to use a relay, of course. It's going to be the best solution. I think these kits come with all the wiring and even a switch that you're going to need to hook this up. Bottom line is throw a relay in there, and it's going to save yourself a lot of problems in the future, at least. We have a whole write-up on relays on xjtalk.com in electrical and audio tips section. I've even done electrical audio tips in a podcast about hooking up relays. I think even Steve, 4.3 LXJ, we did a little bit of a tag team on that podcast. In any case, use a relay, get yourself some cheap lights like these Harbor Freight ones, and you're going to have a great set of really, really bright rock lights to get you off the trail when it matters most.
And I will caution everybody, I'm sure it's in the write-up that Josh, or write-ups that Josh is referring to, but you guys really need to pay attention, especially with the halogen lights, because they get very hot. you need to pay very close attention to how much current those lights draw, and use the proper size wiring and the proper size relay or relays, because you can split up how much current is going through the wiring and the relays simply by using more wires and more relays.
Yep, great point, Tony. And in fact, if you guys are hooking up multiple pairs of these, I would say at least one relay per pair.
Yeah. Oh, and don't forget to fuse it. You definitely want to fuse it. Otherwise, you wind up with a wire that becomes a filament in a light bulb. In other words, it gets really hot, it gets really bright, and then a fire starts.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain that the wiring kit comes with a fuse, and it does come with a switch. The switch is rated to the current that these things draw. However, folks, I wouldn't trust that.
No.
I would. The switch is honestly going to get kind of hot trying to pull that much current through it. Please use a relay when you're using these lights.
Relays are like, $7. Automotive relays, the 30 amp relays are like $6. And if you're too cheap to buy a connector for them to plug into, you can wire directly to them. And I guarantee you're going to like it a lot better, because I know from personal experience and even having it warrantied that the fog light switch from the factory on the at least on the 98 Jeep Cherokee had melted internally twice because they do not use a relay for those lights. It's insane.
Yeah, that's no good. The relay is basically going to take all the work off of the switch. The switch is just going to activate the relay. The relay is going to take all that current draw and pass it straight through the lights.
And it's a long ways away from your feet and fingers and everything else.
That's right.
So if any wire does burn, it's going to burn in the engine compartment and not on you. So anyway, you do it right, you won't have to worry about it. But yeah, use relays. They're very simple to use. Now, I had some fun today. I was going to do this Saturday, but I conveniently put it off. But it was a really small job. I needed to, I don't know if I mentioned this last show or not, Josh, but I found that the pinion nut on the Dana 35 of the 2003 TJ, my wife's vehicle, the pinion nut was finger tight.
Oh, that's no good.
No, and I don't understand what's going on, because I found the strap, the bolts holding the U-joint straps were loose. I was actually able to move those straps with my fingers.
Now, just really, let me interrupt really quick. Was this right around the time where she had been complaining about a noise that she was hearing during like deceleration or something like that? You had originally thought it was just the transmission or the transfer case and normal noise. Was this discovery made after that?
Well, it's actually a two-step problem, I guess I should say. The first one was some vibration that I felt while I was driving us someplace. I think we went out to eat, and we took the TJ, and I was driving back, and I noticed that in second or third gear, I can't remember now which, there was some vibration, some driveline vibration. And I said, what's going on with this? And she goes, oh, yeah, it's been doing that. Oh, God.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, God.
Thanks for telling me.
So it's got over 100,000 miles on it now, just over. And I figured, the drive line, especially at the new angles, since I put a 4-inch lift on it, I probably got a U-joint that's going out. So, 1 weekend I went out there to check it, and I was looking, and I saw that there was, and I know I told you about this in the past, I saw some shiny bits on the U-cap, the U-bolt, the U-joint caps were shiny.
Right.
And I thought, well, I shouldn't be seeing that. Do I have a yoke problem where this thing is moving back and forth? And I started trying to move the drive shaft and, touching stuff. And I noticed when I touched one of the straps, it moved.
Oh, no, that's not good. Not good at all.
And I went, what the hell? And I went, like you would do with a baby on the lip. Blah, blah, blah. I was doing that to the strap, and it's just shaking. And I went, okay. And I reached over to the other one. Same thing.
Oh, no.
Well,
yeah, it was just a matter of time before that ended up grenading on you.
Yeah. And and so I got out the little bitty wrench that's required to tighten up those little bitty bolts and tighten them up. And you know what? Vibration gone. So now we fast forward a couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks, and she says, I'm hearing this noise. It's a weird noise. So I drove and I heard, and it was the transmission on deceleration. You could hear the transmission, and I guess it was louder than what I had heard in the past. So I don't know. I asked some people on WranglerTalk.com, and I think even on xjtalk.com, I had asked some folks, and they said, yeah, well, check the fluid in the transmission, check the fluid level, and if it needs some fluid, add to it. And I said, well, what's in the NV 3550 standard transmission? And well, it could be this, it could be this, it could be this. So I went, oh well, hell, what am I going to put in there then? If I don't know what's in there. So I went to Amazon.com. Hey, this is a good plug. I went to Amazon.com and after doing some online research and purchased some Redline MTL transmission fluid. At least I don't know if it's transmission fluid, but that's what's recommended by several individuals, several Wrangler owners.
And that Redline stuff is that's top shelf in a lot of circles.
Yeah, that's what I read, and I figured if it's good enough for them, it's certainly good enough for the Jeep my wife drives. So waited for that to come in, and I felt that the transmission was probably going to be just fine. It wasn't a big whine, and it's just maybe this will help take care of that whine. Things get old, things change. Sure. It wouldn't have any problem shifting or anything. So anyway, she, let's see, how did this? I'm trying to remember now. She had to go to jury duty last Monday. So she went and she said, just want to let you know, it's like 7:00 in the morning. I haven't left for work yet. And she calls me on the phone. Oh, the Jeep's making a noise.
Here we go.
I'm like, oh God, yeah, I want to know, but I want to do something. I can't do something about it. I'm getting ready to go to work, So fortunately, she was just going over to the bus stop and gets a free ride to downtown Houston to do the jury duty thing. And when she gets back, I'm asking, my oldest daughter went with her as well. I guess she didn't have college class that day. And so I was asking them both what sound. It sounded like it was metal on metal, things you never want to hear.
No. That's a bad combination of words right there.
So I jumped to the TJ after talking to him a bit and took a quick drive, and I drove it about 20 feet, and I knew exactly what it was. U-joint.
Oh, boy.
So Monday night, I've worked a full day, driven an hour to work, driven home an hour, and my choices are put this off until the next day, which will also be working a full day and an hour there and an hour back, or just go get the big-ass C-clamp and the U-joints if, the local auto parts has them. I prefer to really order online, but in this case, I needed to get something locally.
Right.
So they had some superior brand U-joints that were greasable with the grease fittings on the caps. So they had two of those. They were $20 a piece. I got two of those and the big ass C-clamp. If you're not familiar with the technical term big ass C-clamp, that's that big C-clamp looking thing that you can use for ball joints, to press ball joints on and off.
Okay, I was going to say I use the Harbor Freight 4-wheel drive ball joint service tool, and it is just for all intents and purposes, a big ass C-clamp, and it works very well in combination with a vise for even the most stubborn U-joints.
Yeah. And so I got those changed out pretty quick, especially since the drive shaft is literally maybe a foot long. So
they're small on a TJ.
It's
very small.
A little bitty baby drive shaft. I mean, normal size around, but really short. So anyway, I got those changed out pretty quick and back in, and of course I had nothing to grease the little grease fittings because it's something totally different than what I've ever seen before.
Oh.
So I had to placed an order again on Amazon.com for a little adapter kit that has everything I need. Now I just got to figure out what actually piece that I use to grease those things. They come with grease. They're real easy to get to, so I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, that's not something you got to do right away.
No. So anyway, I put that back in, and when I was putting the drive shaft back into the yoke, I noticed that the yoke was moving.
No. That's not good at all.
It was wiggling a little bit, and I'm thinking to myself, what the hell is going on with this Dana 35 rear end? It's like trying to commit suicide on us. So don't
get me started.
So anyway, I put my hand on there. This is much like the experience I had with the straps being loose. I'm trying to wrap my head around what's going on with this thing. So I put my hand up on the yoke and I wiggle it, and it wiggles, and I move it side to side. And of course, that's really more the pinion ring interface, but I can literally move it, back side to side like you would, like it's not tight. The nut isn't tight. So that clues me in to go into the nut. So I start trying to turn the nut, and I turn it tight at first, and it doesn't really want to move. So I turn it loose, and I start loosening it with my glove-covered hands.
Oh no, that's not good. I'm wondering if you have some other underlying issues, like maybe the pinion bearing itself is on its way out, especially with all the vibration that would have caused. I would definitely keep a very close eye on that. And keep an eye out for leaks as well coming out of the pinion there, because I would bet dollars to donuts that eventually that pinion bearing is seen more wear than it should have, at least in the short term, and could be going out here pretty soon.
It's possible, but I'd like you to know that this TJ has a very smooth ride. It has continued to have a very smooth ride after putting the 4-inch lift on, and after now what I was about to say is I don't have a socket that fits a Dana 35 pinion nut.
No, those things are huge. You're probably in the 30 millimeter range.
Well, I purchased a 32 and a 33, and there was another one in there in the 30 range that I purchased recently so I could take off the pinion nut on my Chrysler 8.25, because our listeners may remember I swapped out the yoke on my Chrysler 8.25 for one that uses U-bolts. So instead of just drilling it out and putting on the U-bolts, I actually bought a brand new one, and that had to do with because the little tabs were worn on the inside, and the U-joint was able to slide back and forth, and I was getting a lot of vibrations out of it. So, but I did buy some these U-bolt kits, and I have since drilled and updated my Dana 30 to U-bolts. So I got U-bolts front and rear, and
very good.
And while I was after the 1 1/8 wide socket came in, after that came in from Amazon for the pinion nut on the Dana 35, because it's not the same size as the Chrysler one. No, it couldn't be.
Oh no, most certainly not.
and I damn well better check the Dana 30 too, because it's probably a different size one as well. But anyway,
I bet not.
But anyway, so that came in last week during the week, and I couldn't work on it. All I could do is get a crescent wrench in there enough to turn it where it was better than finger tight, and she's been driving it that way, and vibrations were gone, the metal on metal sound gone, and the deceleration whine gone.
Oh, I'll be darned.
So I don't think it was the transmission causing the deceleration whine. I think it was the deceleration whine coming from the rear end.
Yeah,
unfortunately. Now it is good news that it is smooth. There is absolutely no whine other than a minor transmission whine, but not nearly as loud as what we're hearing. So we'll just have to wait and see. Now, the next thing I need to do is replace the differential fluid, and then I can check and see if there's any metal debris and so on and so forth, and that will give me a better idea of what's going on with that Dana 35. But anyway, I got that inch and an eighth socket in this past week. I took the drive shaft out today, put that on there, and actually I took the nut off, put some blue Loctite on the pinion threads, and put the nut on there. And I didn't want to torque it down a lot because I don't want to start crushing the crush sleeve any more than what it is. I don't want to change the depth of the pinion into the ring, but I got it on there tight. So a nice big long half-inch drive ratchet. I got it on there tight. It's certainly a lot tighter than it was, and with the blue Loctite, I think it'll be good. Now, the whole thing I'm getting to is, while I was there, I was going to drill out the Dana 35 yoke and put in the third set, my last set that I ordered, U-bolts. Right. Doesn't fit because they are too short. If I had started drilling that thing out, she wouldn't have gone anywhere tonight, because the U-bolts that I got, of course I couldn't put them in holes, but holding them up next to the side of the U-bolt and just kind of estimating where it would be, the end of the U-bolt would have been flush with the back of the yoke. The yoke is very thick, and I don't know, it's very flat, which is good when you're going to do this thing, but it's very, very deep. Now, they may make some longer U-bolts, but I really don't, frankly, I don't want to go out and try to, shop around and get these special U-bolts and blah, 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 blah. If I'm going to go to U-bolts, which this is really just a street rig, if I'm going to go to U-bolts, I'll just change the yoke. But if you guys are trying to, you're thinking, hey, it's only, maybe $5 and 30 minutes of my time to take off these weak straps and put on U-bolts on my Dana 35. Well, before you start drilling, take your U-bolts and stick them up there and make sure that they're going to extend past the back of the yoke. Otherwise, you ain't going nowhere, at least not in rear-wheel drive.
No, that's actually a great call out for our listeners out there, folks. If you actually know the model number of the SKU or where to get those U-bolts to share with the rest of the listeners, we'll go ahead and get your voicemail on our next episode. Give us a call at 530-675-4102. If you've got a line on some U-bolts for a Dana 35 yoke for that transition, for that mod, go ahead and share that information with us, and there's a good chance we'll get that voicemail on the air.
Yep, and don't forget about wranglertalk.com. It's also a place that you can go in to share that information. I would like for you to share it both places because we're just greedy that way. And, well, Josh, another great show. Thank you for being here. I know you got other things that are more exciting to do than come here and be on this show and talk for an hour. But glad you could do
supper, for instance. Yeah, I got dinner waiting for me here as soon as I get out of the studio. So, I'll be heading over there to fill my belly.
Oh, good. Yep, I had something. Oh yeah, I ordered pizza tonight.
Hey, there we go.
Papa John's, 50% off. Do you know they have a deal here? The Texans is the local team in Houston. And they have a deal where if the Texans win, which, I think that's a safe bet for Papa John's, any Houston team, winning anything is like non-existent. If the Texans win, you get 50% off your order on Monday.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Papa John's here in my neck of the woods. Anytime the Portland Trailblazers are playing basketball, we get 50% off on pizza.
Oh, well, good. I kind of figured they did it in more than one place. Now, I just want to mention real quick, you were talking about on Jeep Tips about lighting. Now, Matt was telling me that he and his buddy were up on one of these Colorado mountains on his recent wheeling trip, and it got dark on them, and they were having a really hard time seeing. And the thing that he had on his rig that he recently put on was a 42-inch LED light bar.
Oh, that lucky SOB, man. Those things are so freaking cool.
Well, his buddy, who only had stock lighting, maybe some off-road lighting, is going to get one because he couldn't believe, because they got off that mountain safely because of Matt and his big light bar that he had on there. So
yeah, those things are cool, and the price tag is coming down, and chances are, folks, you can get one on Amazon.com.
Oh, you definitely can. And don't forget about us. Well, guys, episode 95, 5 more, Josh.
I know.
Syndication, wealth, vacation, 24/7.
Well, one can dream at least.
All right, guys. Hey, join us next week, and make sure you tell your friends so we can get a few more people in here watching us live.
Walkers, crawlers, blood, guts, and all that is zombie. It's time for Tony and Josh to recap this week's AMC's The Walking Dead.
You motherfuckers. Y'all really had me going for a minute. I was about to be like, no way, you son of a bitches aren't going to sit there and talk about your fucking Walking Dead show for fucking 5 minutes or 10 minutes or however the fuck long it was going to be. That shit was absolutely hilarious. Y'all really had me going there for a minute. I was about to throw my phone out the fucking window and just start listening to fucking TMZ.com or whatever so I could get in on the damn Walking Dead shit. Damn, you guys are funny. Keep up the good work, guys. Later. Denver D1, by the way.
You know, if Denver D1 ever comes out of his shell.
Again. I just can't get over that shit. Y'all have me going. Guys, I'm thinking there's no way you put that much work into a damn intro and shit just to fuck with me a little bit. But you guys had me rolling over when she finally gave it up. I was going to tell y'all last week. Sorry I didn't call in. I wasn't feeling real good last week. But y'all sounded like a couple of bitches over standing in line at the damn Twilight midnight premiere waiting for your fucking tickets with eyeliner running down your face because Edward looked at you that way. Then I'll get into Twilight or Vamps or fucking Walking Dead or Talking Dead. That was the funniest part. It's a Jeep podcast, fellas. Later.
Yeah, it's only a month away, man. October 13th or something like that.
Yeah. Well, you know, Denver doesn't breathe when he talks. Have you noticed? He's just
goes and goes and goes. I love it. I love it. It still makes my cheeks hurt every time, man. I hear that. Yeah, that voicemail gets me every single damn time.
And we're out. Yeah, I love that. It's so funny. That was such a perfect get. We got him good.
Oh yeah.
Hey, I thought of an idea. I want to bounce it off of you, and I guess the audience that we have. You know, we actually have 6 people watching the show tonight, which is good. This is kind of a way to, I think, that we could maybe bolster our live audience.
All right.
I'm thinking, and this just came to me when we were doing the Amazon You Bought What. Anytime we're reading the Amazon You Bought What.
Yeah.
And either one of us, but primarily you, says boughten.
Okay.
The XJ Talk Show will purchase that item for one of our lucky members in the audience.
Oh, interesting. Well, I did that on purpose this time around.
Well, frankly, I think we would be doing it on purpose.
Okay.
You know, and that way we could select. Well, let's put it this way: we'll select an item that we want to give away, one of several items, and you can say boughten, and then we'll give away that item. And if you inadvertently say boughten on a expensive item that we didn't select, then you're buying it and giving it to them.
Really trying to curb my vernacular
which will pretty much guarantee that you'll pick it. You'll say it at the wrong time.
yeah, pretty much. Oh man, you got me nervous now, buddy.
Yeah, so just a thought. And, I don't know how we would find out which member. I mean, not necessarily which member, but which person is listening to the show. Maybe we could even do it as from the standpoint of, because they do show comments.
No, here's how we do it. We do it as a live call, and the first person to call.
Oh yeah, beauty.
We've got the call. We've got the means. So yeah, the first person to call our live call-in number. And we rattle off the number and the code, and the first person that pops up on the board, they get the item.
I need to get the bell out, the ding, 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 whenever you say boughten, and the whole show comes to a halt.
Screeching halt.
Maybe some tires screeching, bell ringing, submarine diving.
I'll have to create or find a screeching to a halt sound effect. Tires screeching to a halt, and wait a minute.
So I'm thinking, I don't know if it's a great idea or not, but I think it's a pretty cool idea. That Stant thermostat. I'm Prime XJ, a Prime Amazon member, so I think it would be free shipping to anybody in the United States. We'd have to say, only members inside the continental United States, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody that's not in the United States could win, but they'd have to pay for the shipping. But I think that'd be pretty cool. And then, obviously, and I think it would be obvious to everybody that it would be just a game that we're playing and picking the button, and really the contest is the first person that calls in. Yeah. So, but whenever you made the mistake, we'd say, you look on your face like, I can't believe I did that, and I'll say, Josh, that's going to be like $10 out of your pocket. It's the agreement. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
No, I think we should let's give it a run. What do you want to do it a couple weeks, or this list is pretty big? Should we start attacking it next week, or do you want to wait another
no,
week?
I think it's a good idea to do it every 2 weeks. I think it might get old every week.
No, I'm not saying we do it every week. I'm just wanting to know if you because the list is so long, we do it again next week, and then we would wait again 2 weeks before we do it again.
I think every week would be too often to do the Amazon thing. And actually, I wish we could come up with something equally as entertaining that we could alternate with. Maybe we can think of something different in the upcoming months. But yeah, I don't know. You can override it if you want to. If you want to say let's do it every week, that's fine with me. I just think my personal is that just doing it every week would be too often. It's kind of the commercialization type thing, because we're trying to get people to go to the website, click on the banner, and send us money, basically. And I hate doing that at all. But if you don't promote yourself, chances are, Bill Gates ain't going to call you up and say, "Here's $1 billion."
Now, I know this is dipping into your pocket a little bit, but just an idea, shooting from the hip here, about on the alternating week of You Bought What, something along the lines of, we post up somewhere on xjtalk.com the word of the week. And at one point during the show, and nobody knows when, we do the first caller with the word of the week gets a xjtalk.com sticker. Something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, sure. I don't have any problem with that.
Okay. I know that's, you got to pay for shipping. You've got the cost of the stickers themselves. So, it's money out of your pocket. But, it would promote activity on the site. It would promote, using the call-in service. It would promote listening to the podcast. And again, we don't know when we're going to do it throughout the podcast. We just choose a point in time, probably later in the podcast, so that people have to sit and listen. We can tease it at the beginning of the show. And I don't know, just see how that works.
I didn't have the screen scrolled down. It sounds like a great idea. What I was going to say here is I didn't have my screen scrolled down to where the comments show up. And Paddle Trucker says, let's see, am I doing this in reverse order? I think I am. Yeah, Jim says, I ordered more stuff from Amazon through the link, and gave us a little winky face. And then he said, boo. And then Cherokee Guy 1988 says, hey, Josh, any work happening in the near future on the 800 trail / LA Deed Flats area?
Oh, the Lottie Flats. Okay, so let me give you a live update on that. It's going to take a few minutes, Tony, so are we cool on that?
No, go right ahead.
Okay, so Lottie Flats, for those who are still listening, is the first legal wheeling trail system in the Mount Hood National Forest. So what happened with the Lottie Flats trail system is this. There was a guy that got involved and he was the head trail designer. This guy has done work, and I'm not going to call him out by name, so I'm not going to badmouth him too much. But this guy's done a lot of work with the Oregon Department of Forestry. His background is that he is a quad trails builder. So the guys who drive little four-wheelers and motorcycle trails and quad trails. That is his background as far as trail design. So what he likes to do is build trails up from a flat ground. He likes to build them up sort of trapezoidal and get them off the ground so the trails are elevated, so to speak. Now, this does a couple of different things. One is it helps with erosion control and stuff like that. And two, it elevates the trail up off of the mountain surface, or so to speak. But it also creates a very, very narrow trail, which is fine for things like quads and for motorcycles and stuff, but is not so good for, well, things like Jeeps, and especially full-width Jeeps, Jeeps on full-width axles or something like that. Now, with that, he designed this Lottie trail system sort of in the same regards. The problem is that through either his advice or the advice of the people that were involved in helping actually do the work, they generated a lot of tank traps in with this. So you've got this elevated trail that dives down into this tank trap and back up to the elevated trail and then back down. And what that creates is one, a huge water trap, which isn't very environmentally sound as far as sustainability and erosion of a trail system goes. Secondly, they did this.
Love it, though.
Well, yeah. Second, they did this right off the bat. So as soon as you come into the Lodi Flats trail system, and the way that the trail system was designed was that it's sort of like a tree of sorts. You had a main trail with a bunch of spurs that came off of it. Something kind of like I don't know if my camera's going to work on it, but something kind of like that. And then the goal was that these other trails would then eventually loop back into each other, so you could sort of do this this figure eighting back and forth across the main spur trail. Well, the very, very first trail that you came into was this class 73 impassable double black diamond super tank trap trail system, which your average Jeeper is not going to be able to run, not in a million years. Secondly, it's a huge eyesore because you've got all this mud and all this rock, and it's ugly, it's hideous, and it's right there on the trail, and it didn't go anywhere. They started building from one end, and they started building from another end, and both sides had this ugly tank trap system on it, and it just didn't work. And the Mountain Hood National Forestry Service said, no, this isn't what we signed up for. This does not look good. It's not sustainable. No, this isn't happening. And so the coordinator through that, the gal who's actually the department head through the national the Mount Hood National Forestry Service, said she doesn't even like off-roading. She's got no ties to off-roading whatsoever. I don't even know what she's doing in that job, because that is her job, is like a trail coordinator for the Mount Hood National Forest, and she doesn't like off-roading. So it was sort of doomed from the start, so to speak. So right now, the current status is shut down. Now, there's supposed to be signage up there. From what I understand, every time somebody goes up there, they find the sign laying down in the bushes or something like that, or it's gone altogether. They keep putting the signs up saying this area is closed for off-road use, trespassing prohibited, yada, yada, yada. So right now, it's dead in the water. I don't foresee that changing anytime soon. Now, letters have been sent out. There's been a cry for help and support. We're trying to get a petition going. There was a massive fundraiser last year in October to supply fuel for vehicles or for equipment rather to continue the building process of this. The problem is that the person coordinating the whole effort wasn't very fond of off-roading to begin with, and secondly, the trail designer involved with it had his head so far up his hoo-ha that he didn't know what he was doing. He certainly didn't have the right system envisioned in his head. So there was sort of a perfect storm of foobar that has led to this whole area being shut down for right now. Now, from what I understand, people are still going up there and people are still wheeling, but that is not legal, at least as of right now. So I actually, in fact, on the anniversary of the fundraiser, I'm going to be getting in touch with those guys off-road. And they're the club who sort of took this whole project on as far as the stewardship and adoption goes of this trail system. And I'm going to get with him and find out sort of where the legal process is and if there's anything else that we can do publicly to help move this thing along. Because I think the intentions were to have another fundraiser here this year in October to generate more funds to continue the building process. Well, as far as I know, that's not going to happen because there's no building going on up there. So I hope that answers your question.
Yep, and that'll be a lesson to me to read these comments.
Yeah, I'm actually looking on them right now. So. Oh,
can you see them?
Yeah,
Great.
I can see them. I need to.
So I was up to Paddle Trucker, said, "Hey guys," and then he says, "I wouldn't have minded the commercials." I'm sure he's talking about Ustream. I wouldn't have minded the commercials if the show would have paused instead of it interrupting the show, and when the show came back after the commercials had ended, you didn't know what you'd miss. Yeah, I agree. That's one of the.
I had no idea that was going on. That's BS.
Yeah, I mean, if it comes in right at the end of the show, you would miss the whole thing. So, this is interesting. Cherokee Guy 1988 says the show has paused on me a couple of times now. More than likely, that has to do with your internet access to YouTube. you probably don't have, especially if you're on a phone watching the show, you may not have the necessary bandwidth to keep the audio and video streaming all the time, and you will get a couple of pauses, or you can get a couple of pauses in there. The nice thing is that you shouldn't miss any of the show. It should just pause until you get enough data and then take off again.
Yeah. Hopefully that's not cutting out. You're not losing any part of the show. I'd hate to see that happen. Yeah, I think Tony's right in that regard, that it's just sort of a bandwidth or / buffering issue going on.
Buffering, exactly, buffering. And then Paddle Trucker says the show doesn't pause on YouTube half as much as it did on Ustream for me. I'm wondering if that wasn't a Ustream issue, frankly.
I'm sure that it was, Tony. I'm sure that it was.
And Paddle Trucker says, picking the button. That's awesome.
Yeah, picking the button. That rolls off the tongue pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. I'm trying to think how we could use that if it would make sense. Picking the button. Sounds Irish, actually.
Yeah. It does. All right, man, I'm going to boogie out of here. My stomach is growling something fierce, so I'm going to go get some grub.
Before you go, what's on the plate? What are you eating?
Oh, lasagna.
Oh, damn it, go. Don't even tell me. Just leave.
All right, buddy, I'm out. Guys, catch you next week. See you later.
All right, guys, thanks so much for being here. Great to have a turnout. I know it's kind of sad whenever you get excited about having a 6 people turnout, and it's more than what you're used to. But I think Josh and I will discuss it, and I think we probably have a good idea of doing an Amazon You Bought What giveaway using Josh's snafus of Boughton. I think that's pretty funny. Of course, it's an idea I came up with, so obviously I think it's a good idea. So look forward to that, and hopefully one of you guys will be getting some Amazon goodies from the XJ Talk Show simply for being here and enjoying the show. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you next week, 10 p.m. Central Time, right here on YouTube Live. So keep an eye out on YouTube/channel/XJTalk for the next live event. You should see that certainly by Sunday night at least, because that's what I did tonight. I actually went in and put the live event in around 9 o'clock Central Time. But I'll try to remember to do that earlier in the week so you can subscribe to it or whatever you can do to get notified of it. Again, thanks for being here. Thank you very much for the comments. I'll have to learn to look for those things during the regular show in the future.
Last in my embrace, on the right side of sanity.
Hey guys, this is Andy from Ironman4x45.com, also known as Iron Man Andy, and you're listening to the XJ Talk Show.
xjtalk.com. It's where you go when you're not off-road.